Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Pratafi. Today we are going to talk about something that we have been discussing in the past, but somehow the focus shifted to more political issues rather than law and order situation. You know, a couple of days ago, a sad episode happened in Quetta. We are going to talk about that in this program and National Election Plan. But before that, I have to share with you certain positive, indicators as well. Pakistan talks about interfaith harmony. Pakistan and Pakistani leadership have been focusing on such issues for quite some time. Today there was an event in Islamabad organized by PTV World and a couple of other government organizations, Information Ministry, and in that the President of Pakistan spoke about interfaith harmony and a relationship with our Sikh brethren as well. That is not all, because it is all of this is developing in the light of Kartarpur project. The Sikh community requested that people who can come to Kartarpur should be allowed access to Nankana Sahib, the other holy site of Sikh religion. And President was welcoming to that suggestion as well. Let us see in coming days what exactly happens. But first, let us listen to the President of Pakistan, what he had to say. Take a listen.
The Prime Minister in his first speech offered a hand of friendship to our neighbors. Pakistan has experienced a lot of turmoil. And from that turmoil, we understand the value of peace. I believe the Sikh community itself would be a community of peace which will endeavor to establish better relationships between the two countries also.
And because Kartarpur corridor is between India and Pakistan, especially addressing the concerns or the needs of the Sikh community, we have to talk about the relationship between India and Pakistan as well. Let us also see what the Indian High Commissioner said on the occasion.
And Excellency, PTV World, our channel, arranged this small event to commemorate Baisakhi. How do you view this? Do you feel that more such events need to be held in Pakistan and also retrospectively in India?
Well, I would strongly encourage PTV to continue this good tradition of celebrating festivals that promote understanding between cultures and that celebrate a common legacy, that we have a common cultural legacy. It's a wonderful idea to celebrate interfaith harmony in this manner, to celebrate particularly festivals related to the Sikh community. And I think it's very positive that we celebrate a regional festival that is precious to Sikhs, not just in India, in Pakistan, but all over the world. It's important to have an atmosphere completely free of violence so that people go back and forth and understand each other and celebrate the natural affinities they have in this region.
What are the current developments at Kartarpur Sahib on the other side?
We think this is a corridor of peace, a corridor of faith, and I think both governments are committed. This corridor will start, the pilgrims will move, and we have a technical meeting just in a couple of days. And I think we will move forward with this corridor and it will be a reality.
Continuing on the Kartarpur corridor, what has been talked about by the President as far as a visa-free policy is concerned for the Sikh community to go to and fro between Pakistan and India, and also when they come to Pakistan from abroad or to India, that they can come to and fro. Would that be considered a possibility in November when everything opens from both sides?
Well, absolutely. You know, this is the idea of the corridor. It is supposed to be a visa-free corridor. And we are working out the details, the technical details. But in essence, what we are sure of is come November, we will have a corridor working and we will have a large number of pilgrims coming without visas to be able to visit Kartarpur Sahib. And that, I think, is what we should look forward to.
Well, here is a positive news. Of course, Pakistan is emphasizing on interfaith harmony. Not only that, Pakistan and India might be able to build peace based on Kartarpur corridor. So there is this interplay of light and darkness. Of course, when you talk about darkness, darkness is absence of light, and there are places where momentary lapse of light may occur. For example, a day before yesterday, we saw the sad, tragic incident in Quetta, where terrorists once again attacked the Hazara community. And we are going to talk about that in today's program, as I said earlier. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by a very noted panel. We are joined by Dr. Niaz Mirza, political economist, a columnist also, regular on this show. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Haider Mehdi Saab. He's a senior journalist, also a blogger on security issues. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Dr. Zubair Khoury, a senior analyst, used to host programs here at PTV World as well. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Dr. Niaz Mirza, we have been actually looking at the episodes of similar kind in the past as well. Hazara community protests, and then the government intervenes and there are assurances. And yet, similar situations happen. Now the Prime Minister of Pakistan is going to Quetta on 18th. But what can be done different this time?
Well, I mean, that is, the really sad part about this whole situation, that, throughout the country, we've seen, massive improvement in the situation in places as remote as FATA, parts of, KP, even Karachi. Yet, there is this sore spot in Quetta, which doesn't show any improvement over the years. And we've had so many incidences, some which were much bigger than this, 60, 70 people killed, and there are all these assurances given. And I do understand that some steps have been taken, they've been given more security, and there's a protocol involved when they have to go out. But just that fact that they have to continuously live through that kind of protocol just for their own security, and then despite all that protocol, at the end of the day they still end up losing people so regularly. So it's very sad and a complicated situation. Granted, Balochistan is the only place left in Pakistan where there are still repeated attacks.
Balochistan is actually very big as well.
It's very big.
It is 44% of Pakistan's total territory.
And with some of the movements going on there, then the weaknesses of the provincial government, police is almost non-existent. But still, then the federal government needs to step in. The other security institutions need to step in. So and that still hasn't happened. The Hazara people complain that people are able to come freely through these security checkpoints and so on. So those things need to be looked at, and just to hold their hands. I think there should have been a quicker response from the government on the same day or the next day.
I mean, this much time was taken by the previous two governments as well. If you remember, there was
just a criticism.
The
criticism is for all the governments, starting from the Zardari government, PMLN. The reaction is also the same.
Right.
And those people.
Let me bring in Haider Mehdi Saab. Your take, sir. Sad incident. What can be done?
It is clearly, thank you, Farooq. It's clearly a sad incident. I'd like to, depending on half full, the glass half full, or the glass half empty, I kind of have a slightly different view to Dr. Saab here. The incident rate has gone down dramatically all across the country, including Balochistan. Including Balochistan. Of course, this is a huge landmass. It's 44% of Pakistan. Despite all the security arrangements that are being made there, these people are able to still get through. There are cross-border issues there. There are, in the larger context,
topography is also quite
topography is very, very challenging as well. I mean, I've served there, I've lived there. The issue is this. The issue is this, that we are now facing the consequences of 2 or 3 seminal events that happened in '79. Let's not forget that.
Right.
We have to see that in context. The Russian invasion of Afghanistan, what happened in Afghanistan, subsequently the Iranian Revolution, the Iranian-Saudi proxy war, and this incident of the Kaaba. Pakistan has been actually at the center of the storm of this. When we have suffered, as we all know, 70,000 killed, these things are still happening. I think because the Hazaras are physically distinguishable,
Yeah.
and they belong to a minority sect that has been a target by certain extremist groups who subscribe to a very exclusivist, very obscurantist, extremely violent interpretation of Islam. They've been funded by funds from all across the world. We are facing that. Having said that,
No, but this time it was Daesh, IS that actually claimed
all these
responsibility.
elements, yes, all these elements, Daesh, ISIS, this is a very amorphous body. So the question is this: let's not forget that any fissure or fault line that exists in Pakistan will be exploited by any force that is inimical to the country,
Okay.
and they will do that. What I do, however, have a huge question mark is the inability of the Prime Minister to respond and capture this leadership moment. I think if the Prime Minister, irrespective of what advice he was given about security, he should really have gotten on the plane. If someone said, Mr. Prime Minister, don't go, this is security
Yeah.
risk, he should have said, you know what, you guys are responsible for security, you look after the security, I have to go there. It is symbolic. There's nothing the Prime Minister can really do.
Symbolic perhaps, but we spend a lot of time debating past. The humble submission is that a similar kind of recommendation was given to Muhtarama Benazir Bhutto
Right.
when she was going to Pindi.
Right.
And she didn't take it on board.
Right.
And
So
you saw where that got
Well,
us.
that's very unfortunate. I understand and I agree. But, Imran is not a person who's scared. I mean, if there's one
No,
thing...
life is important.
I know.
And
if there's
leader's
but
life is also
sometimes you have to take that leap. And you have to tell the country, you have to tell the people that I'm the Prime Minister of this country. Despite the fact that there may be security concerns, I am right in the midst of it. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
God forbid,
I'm
there's
glad-
an odd chance. But that is an opportunity that I think the Prime Minister missed.
I'm glad that we are covering the symbolic part. I'm going to talk about the other physical national action plan part as well.
Yes,
But
yes, that
Zubair
too.
Hori Sahab, before that, you can add to whatever was said, your opinion on the sad tragedy that we saw.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate and sad incident, but I agree with Mehdi Saab that there is a drastic decrease in the number of such incidents over the years.
Okay.
Gone are the days
Glass
when we
half
were
full,
The
not
glass half full.
more than half full now, rather more than
How
three
much?
quarters full.
3 quarters.
Yeah,
What
because
happens to the 1 quarter that is
yeah,
left?
the one incident that has happened.
Yeah,
So
that is 1/4 of the entire glass.
No, I'm just trying to give you answer in symbolic way if you are
Yeah.
to say
I'm
that.
trying to
If you let
quantify
me
it as well,
complete
yeah.
my sentence also.
ahead.
So this is a reminder in many ways. A, we should not get complacent. As was the incident reported there was a pure case of complacency from on the part of the intelligence agencies or the security agencies. Had that not been the case, that incident would have been avoided. So the whole problem or the whole issue that we are facing for the last 10, 15 years, we have been able to control it, but still they are lurking underneath us. So we should not get complacent. We should not say that everything is hunky-dory now in this very land of the pure. And the second is, again, the point that you have raised is the implementation of National Action Plan.
Yeah.
I still, whenever they say that NAP, the kind of a word NAP brings into mind in an
Sleeping.
ironical way.
Yeah.
But still, we take it as a national action plan. So we should keep working on it. We should keep following it. Given the strategic thing, I'm not a man of conspiracy theories, but given the strategic situation that we are living in, the situation in Afghanistan, in Iran, the proxy wars that have been fought in this region, we must always remain on our toes so that we can respond to such situation. But the political dimension, as Mehdi Saab was pointing out, it matters a lot. But still, if the Prime Minister is going tomorrow, maybe, so it is still, or maybe on the 18th, I'm not sure about his schedule.
18th, yeah.
That's again, he should be there, maybe a day later or a day earlier.
Yeah,
that hardly matters.
He should be there, but then what?
That hardly matters. But that symbolic gesture that matters, that I am with you. If you could recall the event in New Zealand that everybody was talking about all over the world, it actually increases the very stature of the Prime Minister that I am standing with all my population.
It is with the Prime Minister, his decision, right?
Yeah.
But if, God forbid, I was on the receiving end of such terrorist attack, I would have said that fix the problem rather than holding my hand.
I understand that. I understand. But
both.
you have to give the compassionate understanding of the things.
Yeah.
Because gone were the days when people were saying it's every day's incident, so where could Prime Minister go to every other place? But it is a one-off incident in quite, it's a good sign in quite some days now. So I think even now 19th Prime Minister is going, that's a very good gesture, that he should be there with his people. The people have lost and he should hold their hands, he should hug them, he should keep them close in their close proximity and tell them, look, I am the head of the state, I am the head of the government, and I am
get
always
it.
with you.
I get your point, sir, but with due respect, when you were comparing it with Christchurch, that was one odd incident that took place in
Precisely.
ages. And
Precisely, I
there
said.
perhaps symbolism might have actually worked.
I'm not
Here,
downplaying
the
the
community
security
is there.
concern. No,
It
I'm not
is-
playing the...
You know the location
yeah,
as well.
I know, I can
and
understand
it
that.
keeps on happening.
I can understand that. So these both things go hand in hand, the security concern as well as the compassionate behavior of the state.
Absolutely.
They are interplaying with each other. We have
Right.
to find a finer line somewhere so that they all should not also feel isolated. And on the same lines, the Prime Minister's security should not be compromised.
Right.
We should go together with it. But the main point is that there is no point, there is no room for leniency and complacency.
Right. Dr. Niaz Mirza National Action Plan. It had 20 odd points. There was a military bit, and there was a civilian bit. We know that army has done quite a lot. Our LEAs have done quite a lot. But when it comes to the political side, the civilian side, everybody keeps on saying that we kept on dragging our feet. And that seems to be the situation even now. That's why such incidents take place. What can be done about a nap that you fix the problem?
No, I mean, if you were talking about the rest of the country, I would agree with your point that, the civilian bit is lacking, the military has done its bit. But here in Quetta, the problem is that, even the military bit is still not complete to the same extent as the rest of the
LEAs,
country.
yeah.
There are still attacks happening. What is now needed in the rest of the country where there are not so many terrorist attacks is, eradicating extremism which could lead to future terrorists. The mosque reform, the madrasa reform, the strengthening of the police and those kind of, the remaining civilian bits.
Yeah.
But for Quetta and for, this community, even the first part which has happened in the rest of the country, there are some gaps in there. So I think the first thing to look at is, to bring it at par with the rest of the country where at least, the military bit is taken care of.
Right.
And then of course,
Dr. Saab,
Balochistan being so backward in terms of, the capacity of the government, there will have to be much more input from the federal government in terms of, the civilian bit of things.
Right.
Compared to
and
the
Dr. Saab, given the fact that Daesh or ISIS has actually claimed responsibility, and we know, we have seen the statements coming from our leadership in the past that we don't have Daesh in Pakistan. What does it tell you about the point of origin of this attack? Is it happening from Afghanistan?
Well, of course, it's difficult to say. I mean, whether it's TTP or Daesh, they are both based in Afghanistan.
Right.
So, that doesn't make any difference from where it's coming. It's coming from across the border, certainly. Now, you can argue which parts of Afghanistan, the parts held by Afghan Taliban or by the government, that's a different issue.
Yeah, but
because,
I'm talking about a country that
tracts-
is ruled by or governed by a state.
Of course, but it's a very weak government. We all realize that, and we realize that 40% of Afghanistan is under the control of Afghan Taliban. But,
No, but,
you
how am I
you
going-
cannot really be sure,
How
I
am
think
I
TTP
Dr. Saab, how am I going to tell my innocent citizens that were killed that it is happening from some ungoverned spaces in Afghanistan? I mean, come on. It is
the
a
same
state.
way that we used
It
to
is
talk
their
about
responsibility.
Fatah. We used to
Yeah, but
make the
everybody
same
used to guerrillas,
excuse.
right?
Yeah. So that point is still there, but I'm saying that, I don't think it's just Daesh. I think even TTP has also made claims, so you can't really be sure, but this is certainly a big threat that Daesh, it had made a couple of earlier claims as well, I think in Karachi and in a couple of other places, and Daesh in some ways is even more ferocious than TTP, so we have to be very careful.
Let me
about
go
that.
back to Haider Mehdi Saab. Two
I-
questions,
yes.
National Action Plan and Daesh.
So let me give a little bit of context. You must remember that in 40 years, since 1975 nearly, our country has actually been brainwashed.
Okay.
And I'm not saying just brainwashed of the extreme elements who take up arms and guns and are willing to fight against the state as the TTP did. I'm talking of people like you and me, sitting in urban centers of Pakistan, in Islamabad, in Karachi and Lahore, who have very strong sympathies towards a certain way of thinking about Islam and with great animosity towards another group. Now that brainwashing of 4 decades is going to take a long time to cover.
Okay.
Now, what is the National Action Plan? The
No,
National
how
Action
do you fit it?
so let
this
me-
explanation, let us actually try to actually implement it,
Yes,
operationalize it.
so let me- so
how
let
do
me-
you connect this idea that you have just propounded with what happened to Hazara?
So here is a group.
My state was
here
not
is a group.
brainwashing me
So how
to
do-
hate or attack the Shia community, was it?
But let me also make a comment on the Shia. Of the 20 people killed, 9 were Hazaras, Shias. 11 were Sunnis, by the way, including an FC guy.
Yeah.
So yes, it was targeted towards the Hazaras. Let's understand that. Now, why would somebody, a group, target such a visibly prominent group? For what purpose? So that they can say, we can still attack you, right?
Yeah.
We can, and this is a great marketing gimmick, right, for these people to say, we're still there. Now, I don't want to go into what Dr. Saab said earlier about a conspiracy theory, but if I were India, I mean, this is a great opportunity for me to keep on promoting and fanning the fires, whether it is in Pakistan, whether it is in Afghanistan, whether it's somewhere else. The fact that this has happened after a long time shows that the security apparatus has been effective, maybe not as effective as we would have wanted. The NAP has actually been napping for 10 years, there's no doubt about that. Tariq Khosa, the Secretary of Interior, former, who actually put this document together, says there's absolutely less than 10% work that was done during the last two.
NAP has been there for 4 years,
Yes.
actually. Yeah.
But NAP, even before.
NACTA was there.
NACTA was
NAP
there. So
there.
NACTA and NAP both together. Their budget isn't enough to even fuel their cars for the year. So what should the government of Pakistan be doing? What should the Prime Minister be doing? There are 3 phases. There's army control, there's army and civilian control, and then there is civilian control supported by the army, as they did in FATA. But you know, when you put a really strong footprint and a kick, then what happens? What you're seeing now in FATA. You know, there is a voice that comes out and says, these checkpoints are terrible, our life is in danger, people come to our houses. However, then let me just say, this will only happen over a long period of time with economic resurgence of the country, with wealth creation, with jobs, so that the people who are susceptible to these people are given an opportunity which is an alternate to the. Let me also tell you, as long as we have an enemy on our western border,
Yeah.
and as long as we have an enemy on our eastern border, these kind of things will continue to happen.
Yeah, but
they have been happening. Remember the Bori Bazaar bomb blast
I know.
in the 80s? So this is an unfortunate part of the region that we live in. I'm not trying to defend anybody. All I'm saying is, yes, we have to beef up our National Action Plan. We have to make this into an extremely strong force.
Right.
On ISIS, my view is very different.
Allow me to
Yes.
actually go to Zubair Hori Sahab. Zubair Hori Sahab, usually, well, it is quite fascinating to study what is going on in India and in Pakistan. That whenever India is attacked or something happens in India, the first impulsive response is to blame Pakistan regardless of any evidence. When things like this happen in Pakistan, and when, the assailant is clearly taking responsibility, we know it is called ISK, Islamic State of Khorasan, which is most probably based in Afghanistan. Our response is more introspection rather than more diplomacy. Why exactly is it happening?
Well, it's basically a socio-political question. It relates to the nature of the state that is working in. Over the year, Pakistani state has grown mature in terms of responding to such incidents.
Okay.
By the other side, if you look at the Indians, they have gone more right-wing, more extremist, and they have become more fascist, if you could recall last year.
Modification of India.
Yeah. So you can say that they just find immediately a scapegoat and then try raising their slogans and banters and having a parade of allegations against Pakistan, because that is an easier thing to do. But on the other hand, as Mehdi Sahab was trying to hint or allude to, there are structural causes of the conflict.
Okay.
These are the structural causes of the conflict
Pakistan.
in Pakistan. yes, we are living in the vicinity of the war zones and with the enemy, but the structural causes are also important. The economy, the unemployment, the relationship with the neighbors, the education, how they have been developing their life, how they are looking at others, what they have been taught, what are their living conditions. These all things do contribute into the structural conflict. And this is coupled with the overall scenario of governance system in Pakistan. So if your governance system is crumbling, even in the so-called developed areas of Lahore, Karachi and Islamabad, what we could be talking about in the so-called backward areas of Balochistan.
No, but Quetta, and especially the place where
No, we are
that
not
we are talking about.
Quetta. There may be
No, hang
something
on.
somewhere outside Quetta.
No, but it is
maybe in
happening.
Job.
Hazara is a very specific issue.
No, I'm talking about the people who
Quetta
are perpetuating.
population, sir, this is highly guarded community. After
know.
so much that is happening.
I know this is a guarded community, but where the incident that Sabzi Mandi that held, it was not that much guarded community. So it whole thing boils down to, again, economics. As the Americans say, that its economy is stupid. So we have limited amount of resource. Where do we put them? It's kind of a like situation. Some parts of our house are on fire and we start shouting and saying that, okay, let's go and put out that fire. And somebody else is shout somewhere else. So this is kind of a vicious cycle that we are living in. Economy is there, the problem. The
No, but
governance structure is the problem.
I totally get that, but that's why governments are supposed to multitask.
That's
I
what
mean,
they are
I'm
doing.
not saying that don't
That's what
fix
they are
what
doing.
is happening in, say, in Punjab or
that whole
Karachi.
links to the NAP so-called failures.
Yeah.
This is
Exactly.
again a governance failure.
Quetta has its local government. It is the capital of the province as well. And then you have federal government, aided and abetted by the army and the other, LEAs as well.
I'm not saying that. Take the example of one school which is malfunctioning somewhere in the middle of Punjab, maybe somewhere in Bhakkar. If you look at that school's working, there is the provincial government, there is the district government, there is the local authority, there may be funding from the federal government, UN may be providing that, but still we have facing the problem. I'm just trying to pinpoint here the governance issue all over in Pakistan, that whenever we allude to capacity issues, yes, they are there. Whenever we say that the motivation of the people, yes, they are there. When we are saying the brainwashing of the people and tagging of certain communities that yes, they are enemies and they are not, that is there. The syndrome of we are the best with certain communities is also linked with that. Some sectorial belonging says that I am the best and others says that I am the best. I'm not naming here anybody, but you know what I'm talking about.
Supremacist among us.
Supremacists among us. Some are better than others, some are better. So this is the kind of a situation that is putting us in there. And here comes the education. We always talk about the madrasa reforms. Yes,
No,
there should be
hang on,
madrasa
hang on.
reforms.
I-
But what is being taught to the students in normal schools and colleges?
Dr. Wari, National Action Plan was a medium-term, strategy. You are not talking about long-term issues.
No, I'm not
I
talking about
totally get
long-term
that.
issues. No, no,
I
no.
totally get
No,
that.
NAP
But I will have to actually narrow the scope of this
Yeah,
discussion.
We have just made
Let us-
NAP a kind of a whipping boy here.
Agreed.
It might
NAP
be
is-
so. No, it
NAP
might be so.
is kind of an instrument to go through certain changes. Your society has to grow gradually.
Let me ask you to actually partake or be part of a mental experiment here. I am representing Hazara in this forum, and I'm saying that so many relatives have been killed, and your government or you are anybody that can actually aid or help in this situation. Tell me, what are the exact policy interventions that can be introduced to actually alleviate my pain?
Well, again, I mean, this idea that, the graph is going down, it might look good to us, but, people who suffer, who've recently lost
Right.
their relatives, they may not get so convinced because, then you never know, maybe this is again going to be an uptick. What is important is first of all the human touch, and then the genuine grievances that they have, that even though you have so many security points, checkpoints, the ease with which these people are able to come in and then go out. There are also
Should there be an audit of this situation?
there should
What
be
went
an
wrong?
audit of the situation, and then there were some news on Twitter that a certain person had been released just a few days back, belonging to one of these groups which has
Okay.
targeted Shias in the past. So those kind of incidences, when they they come together, there is this question of, of course, maybe at the national level, everybody might be very serious, but, how does the message filter down at the local level, whether, the local people who are supposed to be responsible for all this,
Okay.
do they take the message with
I
the same
ask
seriousness?
about this report or audit because there was a similar audit conducted by actually Justice Faiz Issa, Qazi Faiz Issa.
And that report is
Remember
still
when
there.
Quetta took place?
Yeah, and that report is still there. It hasn't been implemented properly. It made references to the weaknesses of, the security apparatus, the ease with which certain groups were still able to function in those areas, the madrasas related to them. So, that's why I'm saying, for the rest of the country, there are these longer term issues now to focus on.
Yeah, we
For
have to
Quetta,
focus them as well.
It's, the military thing which has not really, worked out so well as it has in the
Actually,
rest
we
of
have to study what failed, and that is a big question. You want to add, sir?
Yes, I do, certainly. I've kind of a bit from here and a bit from there. So there's a very short-term thing that you need to do. Where did we go wrong? Why did we pick up this chatter earlier? Where were our assets who are embedded into these organizations? Why couldn't they? Because this didn't happen out of the, right? This planning that took place. So clearly there has been a failure in terms of the asset intrusion that security agencies have within these organizations. So that is a tactical issue that they have to figure out. Maybe there was something wrong. Why was it masked? How did this happen? So that's a tactical issue. That is clearly in the realm of the military and the security establishment. They must do their audit. That's a short-term thing, but that's not the solution. That can only preempt a future 9 out of 10, but one may still get through. Okay, so that's that big issue. But the big issue really is what Dr. Saab here is saying. The big issue is that, and I don't want to keep whipping that horse again, but honestly, the 10 years that the People's Party government and the Muslim League government misrule of Pakistan and the complete destruction of institutional authority, not just in Balochistan but all across the country, has really cost us dearly.
Haider Sahab,
let me just finish.
With due respect, this is what we keep on discussing in this program all the time.
But I'll tell you, we have to understand that to really rebuild your institutions today in Pakistan is not a quick fix. You cannot rebuild your police force overnight.
This is the answer, that we can fix whatever we are fixing in Quetta, but 1 out of 10 will still happen.
Absolutely, and not just in Quetta.
It is not acceptable cost.
Well, the cost is not, the fact that
Human beings are dying,
acceptable or
sir.
not acceptable is another issue, but the fact is that's the reality, that's the unfortunate, sad reality. You cannot fix your police, you cannot fix your secretary. There is a report, and maybe in the next program I'll show you. In Balochistan, the less than 10% of the development budget actually gets deployed. Less than 10%. Now that is a horrendous figure.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the other 90% goes. So we have
And
to
we heard about dengue fever increasing in Balochistan. We heard about many other mismanagement.
And look at the kind of administration that took place. Jam Kamal, at least the guy has a good head on his shoulders. At least the guy is committed. I don't know about the other people.
Right.
The army is fully committed. Let's give them time. I mean, we can fire bullets at them. We can throw grenades. It's not acceptable.
But
that's
with
the
due respect,
unfortunate reality of Pakistan, unfortunately.
That is true, sir. But this answer, that 1 out of 10 incidents might still happen, is not an acceptable answer to any Pakistani. I'm sure of that.
Well,
Just one point.
Sir, you want to add? Sir?
Yeah, I think it's not just the last 10 years. I think we have to go even before that to the Musharraf era. That's where the root causes of everything really started.
You can increase
And
the problem.
in fact, the real problem was there because whatever major actions have occurred have all occurred after 2008.
But the context
Musharraf era.
Respectfully,
and
sir,
then
Dr. Saab, Mehdi Saab.
there was no difference between the military and civilian. There were no
Mehdi Saab.
civilians to blame because
Again,
the
Mehdi
Mehdi
military
Saab, there
and the
was a
civilian
reason I
were the
requested
same
you
thing.
both to actually be part of this mental exercise.
Yes.
The thinking that I'm Hazara. I am a patient who's ill and who's sitting in front of you. You can tell me 20 years ago this happened or that happened, and that's why I'm doing something wrong or I might have suffered.
But I'm
sir,
saying if
with
you
due
want to look at
respect,
the root causes-
I am dying. I don't want to die.
My family has personally suffered as a consequence of these actions. Okay,
Right, sir.
we know how it has destroyed our lives as a family.
We all lost
Yes, and
family and friends,
somebody
yeah.
very, very close. The fact of the matter is, it is very sad. And I agree with him. That's why I said 1979 is your milestone. Everything started from that way. It was mainstreamed by a military
I mean,
ruler.
I can argue on this point
Yes.
with you for quite some time.
Yes, we can.
I can talk about 1948,
Yes.
Haksars. I can talk about
Well, yes,
Bhutto's radicalization
Yeah,
of the politics.
But really-
but sir, let us actually come back to Hazaras. Please tell me how can you save lives? There must be a way.
That's a very interesting debate. As you know that if there is a problem and, for example, there is a spread of an epidemic and you are unable to find the panacea for that epidemic, the people are dying. You can't say anything about that. The problem that we are facing here, that we want to have quick solutions, as you are trying to do it now. The quick solutions.
15 years,
No,
quick
no.
solution.
No, we're talking now.
We have
19
been-
years,
we
quick
have been-
solution.
we
A
have been-
community
No, no.
continuously being pounded and quick
I
solution.
disagree with that.
Total
We
apathy.
have been trying to improve the situation. Alhamdulillah, situation has improved
No,
a lot.
who is
yes,
saying
that
that it
cannot.
hasn't?
No, yes.
I
Well,
daily
you're looking for
acknowledge
100.
that
Looking
today.
for 100 out of 100.
No, sir, hang on, sir. With due respect, every day I acknowledge somewhere in writing or on television
That's what not
that
I'm
I
saying.
can move freely now and I don't have any fear of life.
No, that's
but
what not
with
I'm
due
saying.
respect, if the same community is mowed down every other year,
That's what not I'm
that is
saying.
not a good thing, right?
That's
Of course
what not
it
I'm
isn't.
saying.
And
That's
no one
what
is
not I'm
defending
saying.
that.
I'm trying to say that we are trying to find some quick fix solutions. Even the military courts, the military action, the security barricades, the surrounding of the area, providing them security individually, that is impossible.
Hey, military courts worked.
The idea that
Surrounding
I
of
have
the
given
areas
you,
worked.
no, the idea that I've been trying to give you is you go for the root causes. There are certainly root causes. There are certainly problems. There are certain organizations. There are certain mindsets. There are certain structural issues that are facing that very community, not very community, but overall Pakistan. Last time I was trying to give you example with regard to the madrasas. What about the normal education that is being provided in the run-of-the-mill schools and colleges? If you recall, the latest incident of Bahawalpur, where a student has stabbed his teacher to death just because of that he was going to celebrate some farewell party.
And Safura Churangi happened.
Safura Churangi
IBS
happened, this
student actually did that.
Khan Abdul Wali Khan University happened.
Yeah.
This has pervaded through the society. This has been through the society. And again, this whole thing goes to the governance issues.
And is it not part of the National Action Plan?
It is part of, but this is kind
So who's
of
going to
giving them.
implement that?
No. This is not part of the overall the improving of governance part of the National Action Plan. This is the governance structure that we all need to work on. This is what
But
this government has come
de-radicalization,
in
Dr.
with
Wali,
one
due
of the.
respect, de-radicalization of society, is it not part of the
It is.
National
Sir,
Action
the
Plan?
society
is part.
suffers from something called psychosocial toxicity.
De-radicalization cannot only be done by banning certain organizations, by putting somebody under the bars. You have to work a lot. As they say in Punjabi, hathan diyan dittiyan, dandan na kholiyan pendiyan ne. The knots that you have tied with hands, you have to open with your teeth. If you have gone down slide on a hill, you have to ride it back, and you may
82
need 10 times more efforts. This is what the governance issue that we are facing at the moment.
82,000 people dead.
Coupled with
We
this
have
crisis.
used our teeth to open it.
Yes, we are using.
Farooq.
We have to use
you
that.
You have to understand one.
There are
ve-
structural issues to this. There is no quick fix solutions. We have been trying to move towards that, and there are good signs of improvement. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mehdi Sahab, you want to add, sir?
You know, it is so easy to say that things are not happening the way, our expectations are not being met. I am fully with you. I bleed for the Hazara. I wrote a very harsh article, I don't know if you read it yesterday, and I got a lot of flack from a lot of people supporting the PM saying, I said, no, the PM had to be there. It's very harsh. But the problem is, we discussed the short term, right? We discussed the problems with the security issue. We said that the long term is a huge battle. You can question, however, has this government done enough in its 8 months in power on the National Action Plan?
Okay.
And if you ask me the answer in black and white, I will say no. Okay. I have not seen anything tangible. I have not seen anything visible. I have not seen anything that tells me that the National Action Plan has been budgeted, it has got funds, it has been armed, it has been teeth. I don't see that.
In defense of this government didn't get to actually issue the first, come up with the first finance bill, right? The budget.
Right.
So we'll have to wait and see what
Yes.
exactly happens.
Right.
But with due respect, the question, I understand that you're talking about various dimensions. My concern is that I started with discussing the civilian bit in the National Election Plan.
Yes.
And especially when it comes to narratives. In narratives, especially deep radicalizing the society, all political parties can play a role.
Yes.
And I'm not merely talking about the civilian, I'm not talking about the executive only. Let us talk about PMLN and People's Party's role as well. So who's going to do it? When are we going to do it?
You know where it starts? It starts from our schools, colleges, and universities. I told you earlier that our society suffers from psychosocial toxicity. This is now a worldwide phenomenon, and Pakistan is now a case study. Psychologists are studying how this whole society of Pakistan has been radicalized. Good people like you and me have been radicalized.
This
Our-
is for the second time that you're alluding to me. I'm not a radical, with due respect.
No,
But
people
go
like
ahead.
you and me, obviously, but I don't want to take your turn. Please go ahead.
You want to add?
Yeah, I mean, the civilian bit is there, and that's the unfortunate part that, every party, it's not just about PTI, whether you're talking about PMLN, PPP, MQM, everybody has their linkages to these extremist groups, and they have all supported them. And not just the political parties, even states institutions have, linkages. So we need to be very clear about, completely breaking those linkages.
Yes.
And, that issue is going on even now with FATF, that, there are certain groups that, the global community would like us to take action on. And, we are still not sure.
Yeah,
There
but
are
they-
always excuses.
In order to understand what is going on there, I asked many, stakeholders. Their answer was that we can do what we can do. We can crack down on these organizations. We can arrest their leaders. We cannot kill them.
No, we
right?
can't kill them.
And the problem is then it is a matter of law. And then law protects them. There's hardly any evidence and they walk free.
The thing is to, strike at their
And we
operational
created
base.
the military courts and
That's
even military
exactly what
courts have
Dysfunctionalize
Gori is
the
saying.
operational base, their weapons, their channels of communications, decapitation of the leaders. And that's how you started against, even TTP, and you brought them down to this level where they have largely become dysfunctional. And the same thing needs to happen with these other
Right,
groups now.
Heather Madisa.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I agree
Wadika.
with that. I mean, there is a tactical element to it, which is, clamp down, cut off communication, cut off funding, arrest them, lead them. But I agree with Dr. Gori. I mean, there's a structural issue. You exactly pointed out. They go to jail, there's no evidence, and they walk free, right? So there is a huge issue with our law. There's a huge issue with the evidence law. There's a huge issue with the judge who's hearing the case, and he's not going to put his head on the line because he's going to put that terrorist. We should be doing something like what the Italians did, in camera, and the judges were behind and they didn't know, and the judges, they would send about 20 judges on leave, and they would say they're on leave, and 2 of them would actually be doing. I mean, you've got to do something really radical
Yeah,
to do
but
this.
when you talk about structural anomalies and problems, you are talking about perhaps systemic issues which
Yes.
might be too big to handle in 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
I agree.
But when you talk about lawmaking, it doesn't take that much time. The only issue is that the current parliament hasn't actually introduced any bill to fix that problem, although there are 2 versions of such bills lying, one with the Law and Justice Committee and the other one with the government itself. And it has not been introduced. It doesn't take that much time. You could have fixed the legal issue immediately.
Yeah, that's what one of the issues that this government is suffering, that they have not been able to put their foot down and coordinate with the other parties because they don't have the majority in the Senate to get the bill passed through and become a law. But again, I say that Pakistan has a lot of laws already in place. The issue is with the implementation. The taste of the pudding lies somewhere else.
Okay.
That's what is the working. That is the real hard work. You were talking about the narrative.
Witness protection,
Yeah,
is it covered by the law?
Witness protection law is
Judge,
covered by.
judge
security has to be
protection law.
provided. No,
Is
no.
it covered by the law?
If it is
No,
not
it is
even
not.
provided by the law, the district administration can very easily provide the
No, but
security.
you have to create more laws
No,
to
my-
actually
I'm
take
not
care
saying, I'm not saying that the
got a
law
point
is
there.
not
Your
required.
CGA,
I'm not saying that the law is not required, but I'm saying a
CJP is
judge
saying-
can still be provided security under the existing arrangements.
CJP
there
is
has
saying
been there has been. just
ATA
listen to me. There has been listenings of the proceedings in Pakistan inside jails.
Right.
Why it can't happen now? Why are we waiting for the Godot? Godot never comes.
right, but
We have existing laws and
Sir,
implement.
just to
But
remind
Tavi
you,
sahab,
sir,
you
I'm told
have
that
to
we have to
implement it.
conclude
But I
the
just want to
program.
make one thing.
Implementation is the big issue.
The
Very
syst-
quickly, sir.
Not making policies
the
in the laws.
criminal destruction of our civilian public sector institutions
Right.
lies at the doorstep of Zardari and Nawaz Sharif. For
Okay.
that and that alone, they should be, they
I'm
suffer the
more
consequences.
concerned about fixing the problem rather than finding
Well, I'm
the,
saying when at
the
least
people
we
to
should,
blame.
you know.
We can do another program on
Yeah,
that,
I
but
think
at
we
this
should.
moment,
Yes.
Hatem Mahdi Saab,
Thank
Dr. Zubair Ghori Saab, Dr. Niaz Mirza, we are told that we have to conclude the program. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much for your valuable contribution to the discussion. Viewers, you have listened to our participants, but when it comes to implementing National Election Plan, when the Chief Justice of Pakistan, the Honorable Chief Justice of Pakistan tells us that Anti-Terrorist Act can be used for murder, covers abductions, murder, issues that have nothing to do with terrorism, and then the Honorable Court has repeatedly reminded various governments, not merely this one, and this issue has not been actually fixed, then you have to worry about the civilian bit of the National Election Plan. At this moment, we will all have to work hard. The fact that our Hazara brothers or others keep on dying is not an acceptable cost anymore. Let us hope in coming days we see a solution that is holistic, that is a collective solution and is owned by us all. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.